Hello and welcome to Meet the Diplomat. Joining us today on the show is Mr. Dominique Dreyer, Ambassador of Switzerland to India. Hi.
Hello.
We consider India one of the most important strategic countries in the world. India is potentially the most important market in the world. This was said in 1998 by the Swiss president, Mr. Flavio Cotti. How important do you think would be the strategic partnership relation between Switzerland and India?
Well, we are not talking of strategic partnership, we are talking of privileged partnership. I think the word strategic is reserved by Indian diplomacy for the main countries like United States, Russia, China. So we are talking of privileged partnership, which means, of course, that we are axing some priorities in our foreign policy towards India. And also as regards our economic exchanges and our technical cooperation, we are also thinking of new strategies, of new priorities in order to expand our relations with India.
The first ever friendship pact, you say, was signed by India with some other country, was Switzerland. That was in 1948. 5 decades old relationship, Indo-Swiss relationship, 5 decades old. How do you think we have been able to come together a long way and have had a bilateral relationship in all the aspects?
I should say that already, I think in 1948, the image of Switzerland in India was very good. And I don't need to remind you that some of the Indian leaders, including Pandit Nehru and his daughter, had very close contacts with Switzerland. I think this is probably one of the reasons why India signed with Switzerland the first treaty of friendship with a foreign country on the 15th of August.
But this 5 decades, how long do you think we have traveled together?
And of course, at the beginning, I think the relations were maybe not so close because both countries were quite far from each other. India was at the beginning of its development, but in the meantime, of course, we have gone a long way. I think at the beginning, especially since the 60s, the main aspect of our relations was technical cooperation with India. And this has gone a long way also. I think we have spent about $500 million in all those years in economic cooperation with India. And then, of course, with the opening of India, especially since the new economic policy in India after 1990, our economic relations are developing quite fast.
You disapproved the word strategic partnership.
Well, the official word we are using is privileged partnership.
Which other country do you think Switzerland needs to have a strategic or privileged partnership?
Well, we are especially reorienting our priorities towards Asia as a whole, and of course towards China and India in particular, because these regions and these countries are taking ever-growing importance in the world.
And our president, Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he expressed that both the countries, Switzerland and India, could come together in establishment of the peace movement on the international ground. What is your comment on this?
Switzerland and India, I believe, have always been very active on this field. In our foreign policy, we have 5 priorities, and one of the priorities is development of human rights and promotion of democracy. And I think this is one of the important contributions of Switzerland towards peace, because without good governance, without democracy, without...
But how do you think this peace movement would be possible?
Well, I think the main aspect of our cooperation would be in international organizations, because that is where I think both countries have a contribution to make. And for instance, one case which I think is important is the Council of Human Rights, which has been also supported by India. And this is an initiative where Switzerland was fairly active. And I would think this is also one of the contributions we made for peace. Of course, India and Switzerland are working in completely different fields. We are a developed country in Western Europe. India is an emerging country in Asia, I would say, one of the superpower, one of the main power, because I think the word superpower probably is reserved, I think, for another country. India, of course, is playing an ever-growing role in Asia.
With India, what roles have you played to bring this peace movement?
Though I don't think there has been a close cooperation with India as such. I think we are both working in our individual fields.
No, you said that you are in some of the Asian countries like Sri Lanka, you and Nepal. You are trying to help them to bring peace. With India, what is your role?
Well, our role in some ways is to try to facilitate contacts between the various parties. That is something we have been trying to do in Nepal. In Sri Lanka, we have been actually working quite closely with Norway. I think there is a need in Sri Lanka for third parties to try to solve the difficult situation they are in now. I don't think we have been really involved in a close cooperation with India in this field, because India has also other interests, has other priorities.
Do you have any plans to intervene to sort out a few matters that India is suffering from?
India is able to solve its own problem by itself. Speaking of the Indian problems themselves, I think there is no need for Switzerland to intervene in any way.
Or support, not intervention, but
or support. Of course, we are supporting all the peace actions that India is taking.
What, according to you, do you think is the most important factor that has kept our 5 decades-old relationship not only stable, but has made it really stronger?
We have a few points in common. One of the main points is probably democracy. The second point is that we are both countries that are trying to have peace with the world, trying to cooperate with the world. And these, I think, are the 2 main factors which, of course, have made our friendship and our cooperation even better.
You named democracy, and we both are democratic nations. But Middle East is a boiling pot, you can say. There are few nations there which are seeing democracy, and democracy is at the first stage there. How can we both be a help to those nations?
Democracy cannot be just exported like it is a kind of ordinary commodity. Democracy is something that the people themselves, or these countries themselves, have to take and to promote and to develop. And this is certainly the case also in the Middle East. In the Middle East, I think Switzerland has been quite active in many ways, first with technical cooperation and also with through the International Red Cross that has been very active in the Middle East.
More to talk, but before that we'll take a short break. Don't go away, keep watching Meet the Diplomat.